What's up, pumpers? Jerome here with another TBC video. Today we're going to be covering all sorts of cool tips and tricks to hopefully make your TBC journey more enjoyable. Going to be covering a really great way to level up your range weapon skill completely AFK. Going to cover a way to get some easy free gold every single month. Some cool tip for progression rating with the new method raid tools that are really helpful for making your raid performance better. Going to cover some reputation tricks as well and some cool logout tricks. Before we get started, please hit that like button, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. It really helps to allow me to keep creating more content like this, and I have a whole lot more ideas coming too.
You are not prepared!
First up, we have a really great way to level up your ranged weapon skills. Let's say you're wanding or you want to level up your hunter weapon skills, for example. The classic Dr. Boom strat. So basically, Dr. Boom, he's in Netherstorm above Area 52. You go into his little enclave, and there he is, surrounded by his little bomblings. And here's the thing. If you go on the left barrel, you go on the boxes and go on the barrel, you can easily reach him, and he won't be able to throw anything at you or do any damage, so you can just hit him forever and ever, and completely AFK. And this is also weirdly a great target dummy as well. So let's say you're working on your mage rotation, and you've got a friend helping you out. You could use Dr. Boom as an infinite target dummy as well. Unfortunately, not quite as great for hunters because your pet will end up dying to the bomblings around him, but still a really good tip for mages, for priests, anybody that wants to level up their wanding or their range skills. This is a great way to do it. Next up, we have a little bit of an obscure tip. So at Honored Reputation with Shatari Skyguard, you can actually fly between Skedis and Ogrela. This is a really useful tip for dailies, because otherwise you could go back to Shatrath with a Hearthstone. You could just fly back, but ultimately this is a really lazy, relaxed way to do dailies. So you could do your dailies in, for example, in Ogrela, and then fly to Skedis, and while you're flying, you're just making a cup of coffee or doing something else. And this is really nice. I do believe in things like zero time, and the idea of not having to be at the computer while you're traveling is really great. It means you could be doing something else and being productive, and this is just a really obscure, cool way to get your dailies done. Next up, we have absolutely free gold for you every single month, and this is going to be at the NPC Gezi. He is in Nagrand above Ashugan. He's got his little encampment there, and he will give you a free bag of gems every single month if you talk to him. And this will scale up based on your consortium rep. So the higher your consortium rep is, the higher chance of getting quality gems. And if you are exalted with consortium, you will even probably most likely get multiple high quality gems. There are people getting, 2 or 3 living rubies. You can get Night's Eye, all sorts of great quality gems every single month. You could easily be making an extra 500 gold a month just from consortium. And I think every single person should be getting their free bag of gems every single month. Next up, we have some weird oddities with the Coilfang Reservoir. So basically, if you log out in the water in the Coilfang Reservoir, in the lake area, or even in the tunnel area, you'll be teleported to different instance portals. And I'm not exactly sure why this is, but it seems to be positioning based and height based as well. So if you log out in the sort of far back left side of the room, you will end up being teleported to slave pens, which is nice, especially because I was getting ganked all the time when I would go to slave pens, so you'll prevent a little bit of ganking there. If you log out in the far back right side, you will end up in Underbog. Not quite as useful, but still interesting. If you log out in the shallow sort of front area, you'll be teleported to SSC, which is really useful because a lot of people are ganking at that entrance area with the water and everything. So this is a nice way to not get camped if you're on a high population server with a huge imbalance, which a lot of servers are right now. This is a really nice tip. And also, if you are in the sort of pipe tunnel area, once you get past that initial vertical part of the pipe, if you log out pretty much anywhere on the top of the tunnel, you will be teleported to slave pens. So if you know there's a lot of people ganking, and you know there's some kind of ganking party, somebody in your guild has told you that, you could save a lot of time and save a lot of anguish by instantly teleporting from the tunnel itself into the slave pens area, which I think is pretty useful. Next up, a really useful reputation tip. This one is actually probably the most useful tip of the entire video, because a lot of people have alts and they're not really sure where to even start with rep. You have to start all over and do all these dungeons that you may not want to do anymore. Well, if you want to get easy Shatar rep all the way up to Honored, It's super simple. You can just do it with Aldor and Scryer turn-ins. So these turn-ins, basically anytime you do a repeatable turn-in, for the most part, they're going to give you half that rep as extra bonus Shatar rep. So let's say I turn in an armament and I get 350 Aldor rep. Well, I'm going to get 175 Shatar rep, all the way up to Honored. So this is a no-brainer. Everybody should be doing this on their alts if you have the gold, because you're going to save so much time getting your rep up. This is really nice because you won't have to feel burnt out when you're doing your TK attunement, for example, and you've just done, 45 Botanicas in a row. You're going to save a little bit of time at least. And you're also getting Aldor and Scryer rep, which you need anyways to max out your character. So this is a no-brainer. Next up, I wanted to cover a tool that I've been using to help our guild progression raid. I find it to be really useful. This is not an ad or anything, but I did want to talk about one of my favorite raiding tools. It's called Method Raid Tools, and I know you're thinking, hey, Jerome's in Method. You want us to talk about Method Raid Tools, but hey, I'm just saying, this is a really useful tool. It's primarily a retail raiding tool, formerly called Exorcist Raid Tools, and I wanted to pull it up and show you why it's so good for TBC raiding as well. So you'll notice immediately there's a lot of different tabs in this program here. We've got Note tab, the Raid Cooldowns tab, Visual Note, Fight Log, Raid Inspect, Raid Check, Invite Tools, all these different tabs, but it's all useful in different ways. There's all reasons to have all these different tabs. I wanted to start with the Note tab first, so this would have been very useful on, for example, Mag, having the ability to set a note and then have, maybe every single person using the note for click order, for example. So let's say I enable the note. I could say maybe don't throw the shaman the tainted core, and that's a nice little note that everybody in the raid could have. Or maybe I want to give click orders or whatever it is, taunt orders or innervates, or maybe the mages are the ones in control of it, Method Raid Tools for the day, and they want to tell you who needs an innervate. There's all sorts of reasons why you might want to have notes, and you look at these retail progression raids, they have to have notes because there's so many freaking mechanics and things people have to keep track of. So I think this is really important that when you're raiding. Next up, we have raid cooldowns, one of my favorite features here. The raid cooldowns basically allows you to track all sorts of different cooldowns for your raid. So whenever you notice, for example, your raid leader say, hey, this guy should battle res this guy, they're probably using a tool like this where they can actually track the cooldown of battle res. If you don't have a tool like this, it just leads to you kind of looking a little bit aloof, almost like, oh yeah, you should innervate this guy, but you don't have innervate. It's like you no longer really have control of the raid. And there's nothing cooler than somebody in control and they know exactly what's going on. They know exactly which CDs everybody has. Knowing all these cooldowns, for example, knowing taunt cooldowns, knowing battle res cooldowns, knowing innervate cooldowns, knowing Ankh cooldowns, everything can be tracked and shown to you, and you'll just look like a better raid leader. And not only just look better, your raid will be better because you'll no longer have to stumble around. You can give a direct order. Hey, Jerome, battle res this guy. And that's like a really clear order, and I have battle res, and I'm going to do it, and if I don't do it, then, I'm doing something wrong. So it's accountability, and it's just a really powerful tool. Next up, we have the visual note. So here you can send your raid notes, for example. This is a sort of a Guild Wars 1 style thing. I could have, a map of the raid, and then I make an arrow, and I put maybe icons here, for example, and, just a nice, useful raid drawing tool, similar to the raidplan.io website, where you can basically plan out your raid. This would be done more live. I personally prefer using something like the raid plan website, where you're just able to already have everything laid out and not really do it on the fly. I mean, this would be more for like retail progression where you don't know the fights in and out, and you kind of have to come up with a plan on the fly instead of having something predetermined, but still a really useful tool to have. So now we're on the fight log, and the fight log is ridiculously powerful, okay? So first of all, what is the fight log? It saves fights. It gives you every piece of information. I don't have any fights going on right now, but if you have a fight, it shows everything. So it shows a graph of everyone's mana and how it goes over time and health and everything. And this allowed me to diagnose issues with Morgrim. I could see, okay, we're not doing enough damage in these waves, and the next wave is coming. Or you can see literally exactly when somebody runs out of mana, or if they use a mana pot, or if they had an innervate. You can track every single thing in the fight. You can track the exact damage, the exact time when a mob comes up, the exact amount of damage your raid does to that mob. It's exactly what you need for Lady Vash progression when you have to increase your DPS or KT progression. This is the tool, and this fight log is invaluable. Everything about it. This is the perfect way to progression raid. The fight log is so powerful. And I highly recommend, if you just want one reason to have method raid tools, it's this fight log. It's really, really, really helpful. Next up, we have the raid inspect tool. So this just shows you everyone's gear and what they have. And you can sort of just get a quick overview of what everyone's doing. And I personally would prefer using something like Warcraft logs and a spreadsheet to determine if people are enchanted and everything. And this is a good tool, for example, on KT to see if people are re-equipping their weapons after the pull, or on Vash to see if people are using the right stamina gear. You can just get a quick overview of everyone's gear and see if anything is horribly wrong. Maybe someone has, the wrong piece of gear on, and it's a quick tool to see what you can fix easily. Next up, we have Raid Check. This is probably the most powerful tool of them all in method raid tools. So the raid check shows everything. I'm talking everything. Whenever somebody does a raid check, you're going to get this screen that pops up, and it tracks everything. It tracks everything beautifully. Your food buff, your flask buff, your scrolls, your every single thing is tracked. Every paladin buff, every priest buff, every druid buff, and durability, of course, is very, very, very useful as well. It tracks everything. You're going to be able to see on the fly if somebody is slacking on their buffs. You can easily see this guy slacking here and fix that. And as well, you can even macro this stuff. So I could, for example, set up a macro for this specific tool here. And I actually have set one up over here, which is right here. So it does /RT check. So if I press this button, it'll pop up the window. And if you're in a raid, it's going to show every single person's food and flask and everything. So I can check this all the time. And it's just really, really, really powerful. And it, easily check durability, easily check all your buffs, and make sure everyone's on top of it, their flask and everything. I love this tool so freaking much. Next up, we have the invite tools. So just standard invite tools. You can invite by keyword, all sorts of auto accept stuff. And yeah, just a really, really great way to get your raid set up quickly. I think this is a must-have. Invite tools are key for a raid. Everybody has to have a invite tool if you're going to be doing serious raiding, because you need people to be able to join your groups really quickly and minimal, stalling and waiting around. So I think this is a great feature. Next up, we have the raid groups feature. This is super awesome. I love this feature. It's something I had to kind of cobble together in Classic. There was a clean group assignments add-on in Classic. As a pre-made lover, I love doing Warsong and Arathi Basin. This was something I would have loved to have. Being able to quick load groups and quickly set up your group so that you have Wind Fury for your warriors, for example, even when you're in a random game with, a couple extra random people in it. And, every single game, your groups are getting messed up. And, of course, great for raids, quickly being able to save and then load later on your raid assignment. So, for example, as you can see, we have our raid groups here. I have No Milk Drone and Machine Gun here. And let's say I want to move Machine Gun into this group so that he's, with the Druid. Boom, I could set that. I could save that. So I could save that as Drone plus Machine Gun. And then boom, we can load that. Or if we want our original assignment that we had before, I can load that. And so we can have hot loaded groups and raids. So if you set your roster in advance, boom, it's really, really easy to do this. And you never have to worry about, losing your optimal raid group comp. Or if you're in pre-mades, always having to set it over and over again. You can just press one button and you're good to go, which I think is really awesome. You can export them. You can save them however you want. And maybe I want to be over here. And he wants to be over here, and that's going to be saved as new, so boom. And now anytime I want to have that, I can have that, and you just load it like this, so apply groups, and boom, it's applied over here. So you just have to click the apply groups button, so apply groups, boom, apply groups, boom, and it's going to be all good to go. And there's a guild tab as well, so you can even have people's names, already implemented here, so I could have it all set up in advance, just like this. And I think that's pretty awesome. This is just a really, really well thought out feature, perfect for your raid group. Next up, we have the marks bar. This is pretty awesome. You can set up the marks bar up here and click one of the buttons, and boom, it instantly marks your character, as you can see, or whatever you want to mark. And that's really awesome. You can clear it as well, so you can clear the marks. And you can basically set them in advance. It's really awesome. Look at this. See, I can put moon, for example, or star, and you can enable it, disable it. I think it's pretty cool. Quick marking is nice. I was using Magic Marker for a long time. Magic Marker doesn't really work super well in TBC for whatever reason. In the same vein, we also have the Marks tab. So what this does is it permanently locks your mark to whatever you want it to be. So let's say, your guild's always having problem with somebody losing their favorite mark in, or let's say you're in Warsong, right? And you just always want to be this giant square icon so everyone can see you, or you want to be Skull because you're a stone cold killer. Well, boom, you can lock that mark, so it's gonna be permanent. And so no matter what, as you can see, let's say I press the moon, boom, it's back to star, or I press diamond, boom. So no matter what people try to do to you, it's always coming back to what you need it to be, which is great and really, really powerful, especially in battlegrounds where people are just always messing with your marks, and you're playing like AV and you're the leader, and you want to have, your group all have marks, and somebody's just screwing you over. They're just taking your marks over and over again. That's really annoying. This fixes that pretty nicely. We've also got the timers tab, all really standard. You can do all sorts of different pull timers, and yeah, just standard pull timer stuff, as detailed as you need it to be. You can do all sorts of different settings. You can have AFK timer, for example, break timers, just everything you'd want from a timer add-on. And you can have countdowns. Combat timers are nice as well, so I could have it tracking combat over here or wherever we want it. So that's another tool. You might see a lot of raiders using a combat timer. Next up, we have the raid attendance tab, so you can track raid attendance using this. You can save the current roster, and as you can see, it tracks who was in the raid at that given time. So that's really, really useful. So you just snapshot it when you're about to pull, and you know who's there, or you could snapshot it, later on and see who was late, for example, and penalize them for being late. So this is just a really powerful tool. Everybody should be using something like this to track raid attendance and know who's, perpetually late, and make sure that they can fix that, because there's nothing worse than losing 30 to 45 minutes of your raid time because somebody was just late, and they're late every single week. Of course, you probably want to run a spreadsheet as well for this, but it's nice to have this stuff, like the fight log, for example. It's nice to have everything on the fly in-game so that you can analyze stuff. It's not everybody has, a professional analyst team following them around while they're doing progression rating. So it's nice to have the stuff in-game and easily accessible. Next up, we have the who pulled tab, just shows who pulled in the raid. Nice to track that. Sometimes people, ninja pull, for example, accidentally, and it's nice to have a little bit of a log of that. A saving log, this basically just makes sure you can upload to Warcraft logs every single time. As part of the raid management of our guild, I had an absolute nightmare trying to remember to raid log and remember to track everything and put it on Warcraft logs. This does it automatically, and then you can just upload using the Warcraft logs uploader. A lifesaver for sure. Whatever you're doing, make sure you automatically track your raid logs so that you don't have to worry about this. It automatically tracks in any combat zone, and that way you can upload to Warcraft logs and never have to worry about losing your data, and your entire raid is mad at you, and you're sad, and it's not good. And last but not least, we have the profiles tab. So if you want to not be tracking, for example, raid cooldowns on your warrior, or you don't want to be tracking or you don't want to be logging, for example, maybe it's using too many PC resources or something, or you're not, you don't need the marks shown at all here when you go over here, or you don't need the note, for example. You can decide what you want on each character and then save the profile, and it's really, really easy. Overall, Method Raid Tool seems like an awesome tool for progression rating. I highly recommend everybody get it. Has so many powerful features. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit and get it out of the way, because honestly, it's going to make your rating better. Thanks so much for watching the new tips and tricks video. Please let me know in the comments if you have any preferred add-ons for rating. I want to learn more about your best add-ons and make an awesome compilation video. Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.